Serena Joy wanted a return to traditional values for women to stay home, serve their husbands, and raise children. But not before she wrote a best-selling book, toured the country, and became the face of the movement. She helped design the cage, and she thought she'd hold the keys. Spoiler alert. She didn't. And today, some women are echoing her message, telling us to reject work, embrace traditional roles, and go back to the kitchen, while cashing in from their ring-lit studios. Stick around, because by the time we get to what happened after Serena finally got what she wanted, you might start noticing something eerily familiar in your own feed. This isn't just a character study, it's a warning. And it's happening now. Before we get to meet the new Serenas, let's talk about Miss Waterford herself. Pre-Gilead, Serena Joy was a college-educated author, a charismatic speaker, and the PR machine behind the Sons of Jacob. She used feminism's platform, TV appearances, book tours, stadium rallies to argue against women's rights. You know, like biting the hand that fed you and then asking it to pass you the mic. She wanted women to stay home, raise children, and be grateful for that honour. However, the irony was, her own life didn't reflect traditional values at all. She was the breadwinner, adored by her husband who watched from the sidelines, and she was childless. The implication being that she was possibly infertile after being shot, although later events made that debatable. Whether Fred or Serena were ever infertile is a debate that could power Reddit for decades. Fred did worship her. The marriage, well modern, whatever that means, was passionate and loving. Well, before Gilead, that is. But partly the reason Serena was able to gain such a following wasn't just her charisma. It was the fact that the birth rate was plummeting pre-Gilead. It was a real crisis. But instead of asking why, Serena blamed feminism, working women, and modern values. She might as well have blamed the cat ladies. Post-Gilead, she remained consistent. Her judgment of women continued. When Naomi complained about sleepless nights with Charlotte, Serena snapped back like Naomi should be grateful at all times. It's like, Bessie, I'm not saying I don't love this child I stole from my prisoner. I just need a shower and a nap. Nonetheless, most importantly, Serena got exactly what she wanted. Well, maybe not what she wanted, but let's just say she got what she campaigned for. The powerful husband, a fancy house, staff at her beck and call, but still no baby. But no fear, Serena. The system promised her one, no matter the cost. She burned through Handmaids, passed her resentment onto them, and watched her marriage rot. Serena helped design the cage that is Gilead, and she thought she'd hold the keys. But let's face it, she didn't just lose the key, she got herself locked inside. Her books were banned, her voice was cut off, her husband stopped listening. She wasn't even allowed to read the words that made her famous. But she campaigned for women to be more traditional wives, and that's exactly what she got. But plot twist, her husband no longer desired her. He barely even looked at her. He was more interested in frequently visiting Jezebels and playing Scrabble with his handmaids, which undoubtedly was just as much as a betrayal to a wife that was not allowed such a luxury. Serena used to make speeches, and now she is speechless. Despite this, she endured the marriage and convinced herself that everything would be fine once she had the baby. But deep down, she knew this wasn't enough for her, and she repeatedly tried to speak up, to reclaim her voice, but was brutally shut down, either by her once loving but now sadistic husband, or his wonderful work colleagues. When she lost a finger for reading the Bible, her silence wasn't just from the pain or the trauma, it was the shock of realising the rules applied to her. You could call her brave for rebelling, but it wasn't bravery, it was narcissism. She never thought the system she built would turn on her. Serena's character arc exposes the trap. The tradwife fantasy promises safety and purpose, but it often delivers control, isolation, and regret, because that's what it is. It's a fantasy. And at this point, just to be clear, I'm not saying that all modern day influencers are the equivalent of Serena, because let's face it, post-Gilead, Serena's one of the worst wives we meet in the series. I mean, there are worse. I'm looking at you, Miss Winslow. I understand infertility is cruel, and Serena's desperation is real, but not every wife went along with the ceremony, did they? Rest in peace, Eleanor. Of course, later on, Serena does go on to become a mother, but this doesn't redeem Serena. She gives up Nicole, a rare moment of selflessness, but then later tries to get her back. Serena, that redemption arc did not last long, did it? And then when she eventually gets pregnant and she has Noah, she even becomes safe on that beautiful commune. Yet she's unsatisfied. She wants more. She wants power. She wants her platform back. Despite everything that she said, being a mother was not enough for her. So she went back to Gilead without blinking, and it wasn't even the first time. It wasn't until the very end where June convinces Serena being a mother was enough. My God, I hate that scene, but I digress. And was that really June's words? She quite frankly had no other option. Serena Joy is a lesson in being careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. She built a system that punished women for wanting more, and then realised it had no mercy, even for its architect. And while Gilead is fiction, the blueprint isn't. Because today we're seeing a new wave of women echoing Serena's message, not in dystopian regimes, but on podcasts and any social media platform that will have them. They're preaching submission and traditional values while profiting from the platforms built by the very feminism they claim to reject. So let's talk about the new Serenas and why their gospel of regression isn't just ironic, it's dangerous. But first, I need to make this distinction because not all voices are the same. Let's break it down. Tradwives, women who choose domesticity and homemaking as a lifestyle. Some share it online, others just live it quietly. They're often criticised for their choices, and with the amount of hate that they receive, some would think they're putting arsenic into their cookies. But importantly, they are often not telling others to follow suit.
Well, I actually don't believe that everyone should be a traditional wife. I think that it is a choice.
And then we have anti-feminist influencers. They profit from telling women to stay home, submit to men, and reject feminism, while living lives built on independence and monetized platforms.
I don't think women should vote.
Shut up!
Living proof that you can use feminism to cash its checks while blaming it for everything wrong with society. The key distinction here is choice. Feminism didn't say, go be a boss, babe. It said, you get to decide. And that's the difference. Tradwives are choosing a lifestyle, and some, although not all, are often telling others not to do the same. Anti-feminist influencers are selling it, often without living it. They don't want choice, they want it enforced. And let's face it, on Instagram, the tradwife aesthetic looks dreamy. Soft lighting, cinnamon buns, and curated flower gardens. But reality check. Social media isn't real life. Most tradwife influencers are running business, monetizing their lifestyles, and outsourcing the parts that don't fit the fantasy. But historically, tradwife life came with repressed emotions, legal limitations, and zero escape routes. So when people say, let's go back to the old days, I'm like, back where, bestie? Was it the era when women were sold for land? Or the one where divorce was shameful and abuse was swept under floral rugs? This lifestyle only works if you have perfect marriage, financial stability, and a pantry full of organic oats. Well, and lots of Valium. Seriously, Big Pharma made a fortune. Maybe Big Pharma are behind the anti-feminist movement. Seriously, if they were so happy, why were they so drugged up? Is it because it was so romanticised? Well, part of it was women were encouraged to make it look effortless. The competition was out to be the best wife, have the perfect china, the well-kept home. You needed to make sure you kept up with the Joneses. But this effort to make it look effortless made it isolating. The pressure meant people were not always open about how they were feeling, for fear of being judged. The sense they were the only one feeling that way.
Oh my gosh, she just got all her sadness all over me.
The good old days were a glossy ad campaign, not a universal reality. Because quite frankly, if the good old days were so good, then why were so many women fighting for change? It's selective nostalgia. So why, after all this time, is this lifestyle starting to look so appealing? Well, Catherine Rottenberg and Shani Agard argue that the tradwife fantasy exists because the system makes all other options exhausting.
We don't have to do it all as women. I think we've proven that it's possible, but at what cost, right?
We're not seeing a rejection of feminism. We're seeing burnout, economic precarity, and a desperate search for something that feels safe. So instead of blaming women for choosing what feels safe, maybe we should ask why the other choices feel so impossible. Nostalgia is being weaponized, not to build a better future, but to escape a broken present. And if we keep turning on each other, we're just helping build the next Gilead. Serena's book, A Woman's Place, gained traction because people were desperate. In one flashback, Hannah is the only baby born in the hospital that night. It felt dystopian, but we're not far off. Fertility rates are dropping globally. Microplastics have even been found in baby placentas. But then again, what are we supposed to do? We can't use paper ones, they explode.
We're going back to plastic straws. These things don't work. I've had them many times, and on occasion they break, they explode.
Male fertility is declining at alarming rates, but we don't want to acknowledge that. Yet the problem is real. Some countries are throwing money at the situation to encourage people to have babies, such as China and Hungary. Some countries, like the USA, are taking more extreme measures, such as the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Despite this, they are still seeing reduced birth rates. Who would have thought it? It's almost like women don't want to die in pregnancy or childbirth. The thing is, when systems fail, fear takes over. And when fear takes over, people look for someone to blame. In Gilead, declining birth rates didn't justify authoritarian control. They created a culture of desperation, and desperation breeds division. Instead of fixing the root causes, pollution, male infertility, economic collapse, the blame landed on, well, women. Sounding familiar? And that's how Gilead stayed alive, not just through laws and punishment, but through women enforcing the rules on each other. Yes, commanders made ego-driven decisions, but they didn't build Gilead alone. The aunts trained handmaids like dogs, promising rewards for obedience and mutilating them for not following orders. The Marthas judged handmaids despite being enslaved themselves. The handmaids weren't to be trusted. They brought it on themselves, of course. Because even in captivity, women were ranked and judged and punished by each other. And there are real-world echoes of this. Today, mums are shamed for working and for staying home. Female bosses are criticised for being too tough or too soft. Celebrities get dragged for parenting choices, body choices, career choices. We are so busy trying to be the right kind of woman, we forget the real win is being free to be any kind of woman. The more we judge each other, the more we're distracted from the real issues. That's how Gilead stayed alive, and it's how these movements gain power. Feminism doesn't force you to work. It doesn't insist you reject motherhood. It gives you options. Just like Serena Joy had. Well, in till she didn't. You want to be barefoot and pregnant making chocolate from scratch? Then go for it. You want to run a company, sip martinis, and never have kids? Also valid. Do you want something in between? That's the point. The moment we believe there's only one right way to be a woman, that's when we wake up in a Gilead-shaped nightmare. Feminism is the reason you can roast feminism on TikTok in the first place. The real enemy isn't women making different choices, it's the systems that take those choices away. So what do you think? Was Serena redeemable? Is the tradwife movement empowering, dangerous, or just Instagram cosplay? Drop your thoughts. I'm dying to read them while I still can.